Good morning, I'm Claire Murphy. Welcome to the Solo Bureau. All right, it's Friday. That means the state and territory whip is on the way. From Yolnu Martha Bluey, by-election tests, Origin winners and losers, we'll let you know what's up from around the country. But let's get into it, shall we? This is what's been happening while you were sleeping, Friday, July 10. Power ballad legend Bonnie Tyler has died suddenly in hospital in Portugal. The Welsh singer was being treated for complications relating to emergency intestinal surgery she underwent back in May, where doctors had placed her in an induced coma to assist in her recovery. She was later taken out of the coma, but a spokesperson said she remained very unwell in intensive care. Her 1983 hit Total Eclipse of the Heart went to number one in multiple countries. Her song Holding Out for a Hero was included on the Footloose soundtrack. She was 75. A secondary fault that only became apparent after Telstra's first outage fault was being repaired has now also been fixed. Telstra's acting CEO Michael Ackland has again apologised for the outage, which left millions of customers without service.
I want to again apologise for the disruption these issues have caused to our customers and to the broader community. We know how important it is to stay connected, and we take this responsibility very seriously.
He described the software defect as a time synchronization issue, a glitch in the software that reset the GPS timer. He also told the media yesterday that they conducted 639 welfare checks on those callers who failed to connect to 000 during the outage. 230 of those responded to an SMS saying they didn't need any further assistance. 402 were followed up with voice calls, and out of those, 170 were passed to the police for either a further welfare check or assistance. 7 required immediate assistance, and they were referred to the relevant emergency services. The Victorian Regional Train Service, the V-Line, started bringing their services back online around midday yesterday after they were knocked out by the outage. They conducted testing to ensure that the train communication systems were working in a stable, continuous and reliable manner. Telstra's actual CEO, Vicky Brady, who's been on leave overseas, is due to start back at work today. The ABC has been accused by the country's envoy to combat anti-Semitism as being its own judge, counsel and jury. Both the ABC and SBS were called to give evidence at the Royal Commission on Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion yesterday. The ABC's editorial director admitting that allowing an incorrect statement said on its news breakfast program that 14,000 babies would die in 48 hours in Gaza, a statement not retracted and apologised for until 4 p.m. that afternoon, was a bad mistake. Special Envoy Gillian Siegel explained that the public broadcaster's coverage of the State of Israel's response to the October 7, 2023 attacks and the ensuing conflict in Gaza lacked balance, was overemphasised relative to other global conflicts, and disproportionately gave voice to anti-Israeli perspectives. She suggested the ABC be overseen by an independent oversight board, saying it's the gold standard and they don't mark their own homework. Indian leader Narendra Modi has been celebrated at an event in Melbourne with a crowd of up to 30,000 people filling Docklands Stadium. The Melbourne Meets Modi event was held after the Indian Prime Minister met with his Australian counterpart, Anthony Albanese. The pair signed a range of deals, including a revived uranium trade deal with Australia to begin regular shipments of the fuel as Modi attempts to shift his country away from fossil fuel use. They also signed a maritime security roadmap with plans to boost Coast Guard services on both countries' coasts. India will also be given use of Australia's Cocos Islands for a temporary space tracking terminal, and further education deals were signed off on with a campus of the South Australian University Flinders to be approved in India. Human rights protesters also attended the event, with groups such as Amnesty International condemning Mr Modi for declines in India's living standards and for targeting journalists and academics through anti-terror legislation. Marginal religious groups, including Muslims and Christians, have also been targeted. Opposition leader Angus Taylor has warned Australians that a decision to back One Nation will send the country broke, calling the party a column of smoke. It's the strongest attempt by the Liberal Party to hit back at One Nation, who've been eating away at its voter base in recent years. Mr Taylor saying an eternity of pain could follow handing One Nation leader Pauline power. He made the comments during a speech at the Sydney Institute yesterday, saying One Nation has no credible plan to pay for any of its promises and that one of their policies would cost the country $1 trillion over a decade and that national debt would nearly triple. Iranian forces have targeted US military bases in neighbouring Gulf states following US strikes on Iran's southern coastal and eastern provinces. The strikes put further strain on the 3-week-old ceasefire agreement, which US President Donald Trump said this week he believed was over. Meanwhile, Iran has also been preparing to bury Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei at the country's holiest shrine in Mashhad after a week of mass funeral processions and rallies. Khamenei was killed in an airstrike on the first day of the war on February 28. New suspected cases of Ebola have been reported in parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo that were previously unaffected. The death toll from the current outbreak of the deadly virus has now reached 600, with the total number of confirmed cases currently at 1,759. China and Taiwan are bracing for one of the biggest tropical storms to hit in years as Typhoon Bavi approaches. The storm that could bring winds of up to 200 kilometres an hour is expected to touch down in northern Taiwan before also making landfall in China's Fujian province Saturday night. China is still in recovery mode after Typhoon Mesa killed at least 39 people in Guangxi. 9 people remain missing. Those are the top stories today, folks. Are you ready to whip around Australia? Your state and territory rundown is on the way. We're kicking off in the top end this week with a group of Aboriginal language custodians releasing a statement to create a roadmap for how communities want to lead language revival. Many languages have been lost since colonisation, but there are a determined number of people who are working tirelessly to make sure no more go the same way. The Top End Languages statement calls for more funding for language services and for archived materials to be repatriated. It also calls for bilingual education so language can be better integrated into the curriculum. Rajwai Herdman, who speaks an Arnhem language considered endangered with only a few Danu speakers left, has led the initiative. He says he wants to empower the next generation to work in community in their own languages. Last month, it was revealed that worldwide smash Bluey had for the first time been dubbed into Yolngu Martha language. The role of Bandit, Bluey's dad, voiced by Dimathanya Barawanga from the band King Stingray. The episodes were released as the country celebrates 50 years of Deadly this NAIDOC week. Queensland track star Gout Gout is out for the season after suffering an injury during training. The 18-year-old had been named in the Australian squad's 200 metres and the 4x400 metre relay at the World Under-20s title in the US next month, but posted on social media that he's very disappointed but has no other possibility but to accept the situation. It's believed he's injured his hamstring. He says he's now focused on rehab and ensuring he comes back better than ever in 2027. In Victoria, a junior doctor working at Austin Hospital, the Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre and the Royal Melbourne Hospital has admitted to secretly filming staff in the bathrooms. Ryan Yi Cho placed a phone inside a mesh bag in the staff toilets, police alleging the material found on the phone showed staff using both the toilet and showering facilities. He'd then saved the files into 3 folders depending on which hospital they were filmed at. Cho entered into a plea deal with the prosecutor, pleading guilty to 13 offences, including producing an intimate image and installing a device and stalking. His licence to practice medicine has been suspended and his bail conditions include him not being allowed to enter a hospital unless in case of an emergency. He'll be back in court to hear the victim statements in November. In a rather impressive turnaround from Game 2, New South Wales has bragging rights for the next 12 months after taking out Game 3 of State of Origin on Wednesday night and sealing the series. The Blues defeated Queensland 30-12 with Nathan Cleary taking out Man of the Match and Man of the Series with the Wally Lewis medal. Also in New South Wales this week, an upper house inquiry accused the state's Director of Public Prosecution, Sally Dowling, of falsely denying her involvement in giving information about one of Australia's most well-regarded judges to a media outlet. The majority of MPs on the committee found Ms Dowling's office leaked information to 2GB to pitch a negative story about District Court Judge Penelope Wass. The story, aired by presenter Ben Fordham, concerned Judge Wass allowing a 17-year-old Indigenous boy to perform an acknowledgement of country before his sentencing sentencing hearing. Ms Dowling admitted her media team leaked restricted court material that ultimately formed the basis of the 2024 broadcast about Judge Was, but has consistently denied giving authorisation to do so. The committee disagreed, stating the chief prosecutor authorised the pitching of the story to 2GB and then falsely denied having done so. They also accused her office of proactively and surreptitiously pitching a story that would most likely constitute a breach of the prosecution guidelines, saying it was done to provoke criticism of Judge Was. In its final recommendation, the committee majority called on New South Wales Attorney General Michael Daly to consider establishing a formal inquiry to determine whether there were grounds to remove Ms Dowling from office, but Mr Daly said he has full confidence in the state's chief prosecutor, accusing the committee of wasting their time making baseless attacks. To SA now, and two boys aged just 14 and 17 have been reported by police after allegedly starting a children's fight club. Police are searching for 4 other teens after videos posted on social media showed the children fighting in Adelaide parks. The footage allegedly shows children grouped in weight classes in pre-arranged bouts held across Adelaide. South Australian Police Commissioner Grant Stevens said almost 40 other children may be involved in the fight club after being spotted in the videos. Premier Peter Malinauskas took time out of his holidays to condemn the behaviour, saying it's completely unsafe and perpetuates raw violence in a way that cannot be tolerated, particularly amongst children. The 2 teens were reported for fighting in public after the Premier asked the state's Attorney General and Police Minister to crack down on the behaviour. They'll appear in court at a later date. Western Australia is about to test their One Nation influence, with Labor Minister Paul Papalia announcing his resignation this week. His resignation triggered a by-election in the seat of Secret Harbour, part of which lies within the federal electorate zone of Liberal frontbencher Andrew Hastie. With One Nation performing well in recent polls, this will test West Australians' appetite for Pauline Hanson's policies in the lead-up to the Victorian state election in November, which is being viewed as a major test for One Nation's future plans. The Australian Financial Review recently reported that Labor sources have told them that Labor and One Nation are currently running neck and neck in Secret Harbour, sitting at around the mid-30s, with a Liberal Party vote somewhere in the mid-teens. Still in WA, and hundreds of workers are expected to walk off the job at the world's largest bulk iron ore export port next week amid failed wage negotiations between BHP and the unions. More than half of the 450 workers at BHP's Port Hedland bulk export terminal are expected to strike for 8 hours on Thursday, the first major industrial action to hit the resource-rich Pilbara region in decades. Students in the ACT may be forced to keep maths on their study list all the way through to Year 12. A review commissioned by the ACT Board of Senior Secondary Studies recommended maths be included in all Year 11 and 12 students' curriculum, saying it led to better long-term outcomes as subject choice isn't just about individual preference, it's influenced by social background, gender, school culture, resourcing and teacher attitudes. The committee found that for those students who choose to drop maths, it can reinforce social inequalities and that the different subject choices made instead could lead to different outcomes. The recommendation was based on data that shows maths knowledge is linked to high employment rates and increased earning over a lifetime. Finally today, it seems that Tasmania's favourite seal has up and left. Neil the seal, who is beloved by the local community at 7 Mile Beach, where he's spent the past few weeks, is believed to have left Tasmania after spending some time hanging out in the middle of the road or on people's lawns, destroying bollards, fences and witches' hats as he went. Neil's 24-hour security guard, who oversaw the animal's safety while surrounded by hundreds of onlookers, will now need a new gig after Neil reportedly left the area on Wednesday night. However, it's not known if Neil has left the region entirely, so he could make a return appearance yet. That's the State and Territory wrap for today, folks. Get out there, smash your Friday. I'll catch you bright and early Monday morning, where we'll do this thing all over again. Make sure you sign up for the Solo Bureau Substack. And as I sign off for the week, thanks for being part of the Solo Bureau. You lot are ace.